Learn to expect the unexpected. Haven't we all learned this lesson? More often than not, our expectations aren't met by reality. And you can either view this paradox as a blessing or a curse. I'm a rower, and to be honest, what drew me to the sport of crew is that you actually sit down while you're competing. I had spent many unsuccessful years on the basketball, lacrosse, and cross-country teams. All sports where you just don't stand, you also have to run, and I wouldn't stand for it. So I came upon rowing as a seemingly simple way to get some fitness in. Therefore, I assumed, like most casual spectators, that rowing was an arms-only sport that would prove to be easy. This supposition sounds idiotic in hindsight, but at the time, it felt reasonable and made me feel confident about abandoning my former sports. Little did I know that rowing was a grueling, back-breaking, exhausting sport. ESPN actually describes crew as the most challenging high school sport because of the toll it takes on your muscles and your entire cardiovascular system. Rowers have been known to collapse at the end of races and erg tests, but I joined this sport anyways because my expectations were so inaccurate. An expectation is a strong belief that something will happen or be the case in the future. A belief that someone will or should achieve something. We all have them. Expectations of ourselves, expectations of others, expectations of how things are supposed to be. In some cases, our expectations can spark the beginning of something revolutionary. In other cases, they have the power to completely sabotage our outlook on certain life events. Whether good or bad, expectations undoubtedly play a crucial role in our day-to-day lives. They allow us to make both significant decisions and mundane ones that we don't even have time to think about anymore. Expecting that a car will stop at a red light, or that your clothes will be clean after you put them in the washing machine, are things that we don't think twice about. We simply expect that these things will happen based on prior experience. The complexities of expectations are not mere thought experiments. Vast research demonstrates how expectations really can alter our behavior. We constantly witness the impacts of expectations in our everyday lives. In one study, researchers asked participants to taste several wines labeled with a wide variety of prices. Brain scans of subjects showed that different areas of the brain activated depending on the subject's expectations, despite the fact that they were really only given 2 wines of the same price. Similarly, Parkinson's patients were injected with saline that they believed was either an $1,000 or a $1,500 medication. Patients who believed they had received the more expensive medicine performed significantly better on motor skills tests. In fact, the effectiveness of the premium placebo even rivaled their real medication. David Rock, director of the Neuro Leadership Institute, found that our inevitable disappointment when our expectations are not met may actually be the result of a chemical process in the brain. When something positive happens to us, the neurotransmitter dopamine is released, boosting our mood as a result. Because we are able to identify this good feeling, it stings much worse when something does not go as expected, as our negative feelings significantly outweigh the positive ones. Imagine that you're driving to school in the morning. You've taken the same roads to school every day for the past 5 years, so you know when the lights change and how much time you have to make it to the next light before it turns red. You don't actually know this, you expect it. What happens if there's an accident blocking your usual route, or if there's a lot of traffic for some unknown reason? Now you're late to school, you get flustered or distracted, and if you're not paying attention, you could hit a car based on the fact that you expected the light to be green because of prior experience. While expectations we place on ourselves can have a striking impact, the expectations we place on others can be equally influential. A Harvard study found that when teachers received fabricated test results that marked random students as destined for success, they treated these children notably differently. Teachers gave their special students significantly more feedback significantly more opportunities, and significantly higher grades. They truly viewed these children as special and destined for success, even though they were no different from their peers. The other classmates, struggling with feelings of inferiority, experienced lower IQ scores and far less intellectual development due to their teachers' lowered expectations. So why not make a good first impression with your teacher that first day of school? Or make a good impression on anyone for that matter so that you influence their expectations of you. A benefit of expectations is the often motivating force they have on many people. Expectations can make us work harder or do things we never thought possible. Let's go back to rowing. My teammates expect me to show up to practice every day, to push myself to the limit on the erg machines and in the boat, and to take care of myself so that our performance as a team can elevate to a new level. These expectations are beneficial to everyone on the team. Even though the feeling we get from disappointing ourselves is undesirable, letting other people down is even worse. So how can we tell the difference between the beneficial and the detrimental? How can we ensure that our expectations will allow us to move forward? At first glance, it might seem that the secret to avoiding disappointment is simply to not have expectations at all. In reality, this idea proves to be quite unrealistic, as predictions are formed mainly by subconscious processes, making it essentially impossible for us not to have any expectations. Another thought that people tend to have is that if we cannot plainly shut down the part of our minds that creates these expectations, maybe we can find a way to control them. Yet again, we find ourselves caught in a mind trap. The ability to manage our expectations is extraordinarily difficult. When we set high expectations, we seem overconfident and ultimately end up disappointed with the final result. When we lower our expectations, negative thoughts overcrowd our means of making logical decisions. Because of this quandary, I offer a two-step solution to adjust not the formation of the expectation itself, but what to do when the outcome isn't what we expected. Let's start out with an example. Imagine that it's Friday night and you decided to reward yourself for a week of hard work by going to a new restaurant that plenty of friends and coworkers had raved about. It had a 4.5-star rating on Yelp and you were prepared to have a good time. Once you get there, though, the servers are rude, the food takes a long time to make it to your table, and the prices are absurd. You had set your expectations very high, but were ultimately disappointed. The first step is to take a step back and evaluate the expectations you had and why you had them. You expected the restaurant to be incredible because of all the other people that had recommended it. The second step is to look at the situation differently. Instead of focusing on the bad, look at the good. Think about what the restaurant did well instead. The decorations are beautiful, the menu is varied, the food was delicious once it arrived. The benefits of the restaurant clearly outweigh the costs. There you have it. You successfully changed your reality by changing your perception about what a nice restaurant should be. Once you came to the conclusion that there were more positive than negative things to focus on, you were no longer disappointed. It's not about forcing yourself to develop new expectations, but how to turn the unexpected into something favorable and productive. Let's connect this back to rowing. I expected it to be simple, and once I could say with conviction that my expectations were wildly inaccurate, I took a step back and reflected upon what exactly I had expected and why. I had expected it to be easy because the only true exposure I had to rowing was through photos and videos shown in a positive light, such as victorious team moments after winning a race. No one had even informed me about what exactly I was getting myself into. Step 2 is to identify all of the benefits of rowing and compare them to the costs. You've heard me say it at least twice during this presentation, but rowing is hard. It's a huge time commitment, and with the physical and mental toll it requires to become successful, exhaustion is inevitable. But crew really is a great workout, and I love being on a team. Combined with the euphoria rowers experience after winning a race, and the mental perseverance you develop while experiencing certain hardships, it is clear that the positive aspects of rowing outweigh the negative. I never could have expected to become so passionate and devoted to a sport. so willing to push myself and my team to be the best we could possibly be. And when you win a race, well, that sweet taste of victory more than justifies the hard work, sweat, and tears it took to get there. Once I examined my previous expectations, I was successfully able to change my reality. And after all, if you are able to align your own expectations with reality, if you have a method of turning initial disappointment into a constructive and effective experience, you too can learn to not only expect the unexpected, but to turn the unexpected into something unbelievable. Thank you.